Hey everyone, John P. here. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you three dress watches that are unique and special. I'm also going to be joined by Federico from Federico Talks Watches and my partner over at Del Rey Watch, where we buy, sell, trade watches. He's also going to be sharing with you some of the watches that we're going to talk about. And it's interesting because many people say, oh, dress watches are kind of boring or it's not for them. And so we're here today to share with you these three watches that are technically dress watches, but should not by any stretch of the imagination be considered boring. So check out these watches. Let us know what you think about them in the comments below, and we'll go ahead and kick it off into the watches here.
The first one is this here, the Piaget Altiplano 900p. I actually had the luck of working for Piaget when this came out. At the time, this was the thinnest dress watch in the world. The movement is actually put into the base plate. They had a lot of trouble with this watch because the crystal was so thin it kept cracking when they put it on. This watch was actually thinner than the strap it was attached to in the prototype. 3.65 millimeters thick. Please don't quote me on that, but if that's my memory serves me correctly. A partially skeletonized movement, not for beauty, even though it is beautiful, but to make it thin. The world record has now been beat by another Piaget, which is so thin it doesn't even have the crown, but in the early 2010s, this was the thinnest watch in the world. And considering it's a skeleton and a world record holder, it's really not that expensive. I mean, less than the price of a Daytona, and it's solid gold. This example is brand new.
So I chose the Jaeger LeCoultre, the JLC Master Calendar Moon Phase with a gorgeous meteorite dial. Now, why I like this watch is because it takes basically a style and a complication of watch that JLC has long since been producing watches in. They've had many different variations of the triple calendar moon phase, the master calendar watch, but this is special because of course, the meteorite dial. Now, interestingly enough, these meteorite dials, they do actually produce them from meteorites, and meteorites are essentially metal. There's different materials in there, but every single one of these dials is going to be a little bit different. So in a way, it's kind of like a piece unique. Everything else about the watch is, of course, standard, but the pattern on the dial is going to be unique for each particular example. So I really like that. It gives the watch a little bit something different. Now, this is going to be the 39 millimeter version of the watch, which quite honestly, I do prefer the 37 millimeter version of the master calendar, though this is more than acceptable for a smaller wrist such as myself. But, if you do have maybe a 6-inch wrist, this could be a little bit too large, but it's up to you at the end of the day how you wear your watches on your wrist. And it's about 10.7 millimeters thick. So previous Gen Rolex Submariner, it's there about the same type of thickness. And of course, there's a module inside this caliber 866 movement, which is going to be giving it the added thickness because they use movements without the module, Jaeger LeCoultre, to put in their watches without the triple calendar and the moon phase complications. So this is something that JLC is known for, their investment into the calibers and the way that they put different modules in there. It's something they focus on a ton. Now, what I love also about this movement is it's much more decorated than watches you would get for about the same type of price. Many brands really rely at this price point, 10, 11, 12,000 US dollars. Many brands really just rely on their branding, right? But JLC actually takes it to a little bit further, especially with the decorations on the movements. And that's something that they once again focus on as a brand that is called the Watchmaker's Watch for a reason. And this particular watch does feature the 1,000-hour testing that JLC is known for. And what's great about this is JLC, when they produce this watch, they actually test the movement for accuracy, timekeeping, as well as magnetic resistance, so on and so forth. They test it inside of the case, and there are many brands that will actually just test the movement and then case it. But JLC actually tests it in the case, and I think that's important because it's one extra step closer to you wearing the watch and not just this theoretical reading that was done on a watchmaker's bench somewhere. It's actually in the case. So I really like to see that. Overall, I think this is a great watch that if you're looking for something a little bit different, a little bit special, where you have to kind of look a little bit closer to see what's unique and interesting about the watch, this would be it because of that meteorite dial. And let's not forget, it does certainly far surpass more than an average market baseline on decoration, finishing, movement, production, and finish. So very cool watch. I would check this one out for sure.
And now, one of my favorite watches of all time, we have the new version of the Patek World Time. White gold and redesigned, a little bit thicker, a little less rounded, a little less feminine. This new version is beautiful. It has that kind of cathedral slash foy style hands with the Louis Coutier World Time system, a white gold buckle that by itself will set you back just shy of 5 grand. I mean, this is a true complication, a high complication for the world traveler. And for those of you that know who I am, know that I love traveling. I find this complication not only useful, but extremely poetic. And I absolutely love this watch. Not to mention, we are the cheapest in the country. And if I hadn't bought so many other watches recently, this one would stay for myself. But I will make you guys a promise on video. Within the next 18 months, Federico will own one of these watches for his personal collection. 24 time zones, one watch. It's a little bit more than $1,000 a time zone, but well worth it.
So what do we think? What do you think about these three watches that we just shared with you? Do you think that, maybe we're right here? Maybe they're not boring for dress watches, or are you just somehow still just attracted to exclusively sports watches? This is a thing that I notice out there, and it's always interesting hearing your feedbacks, thoughts, and opinions in the comments below, because that is how we have built Del Rey Watch. That is how we continue to build Del Rey Watch, by stocking and providing and talking about the watches that you are interested in. So please make sure to let us know down in the comments below. You can find me on Instagram, TheRealJohnP, and you can check out DelReyWatch.com. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time. You've been chatting with John P., joined by Federico from Federico Talks Watches.